Hello and welcome to Sustainable City Network's presentation of a webcast that will explore how distributing trees through a community canopy project can integrate with your sustainability efforts, help maximize energy efficiency, and engage homeowners within your community. My name is Dick McGrain with Sustainable City Network, publishers of the online trade magazine scitynetwork.com. Along with webinars like the one you're viewing today, we also produce email newsletters, a quarterly print magazine, conferences, and other interactive content specifically designed for civic leaders and professionals involved in the day-to-day challenge of building sustainable communities. We reach readers in all 50 states and throughout Canada with quality and timely information on sustainability best practices, products, and services. We're thrilled that more than 400 leaders from communities across the nation have registered for today's presentation, which is sponsored by the Arbor Day Foundation. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers for today's webcast. Travis Meny is the Community Projects Manager for the Community Services Department in the city of Redding, California. Travis began his career with the city 2 years ago, following a 10-year career in the construction industry as a superintendent, project manager, and quality control manager for a variety of national park and monument projects. He earned a master's degree in public history in 2012 from California State University in Sacramento and a bachelor's degree in history from CSU Chico. Travis combines a love of the outdoors and varied construction experience into a successful career managing projects and programs for his hometown in Northern California, specifically focused on parks, trails, and open space projects. Travis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dick. Glad to be here.
Kristen Bosquet is a Program Development Manager at the Arbor Day Foundation in Lincoln, Nebraska. She joined the Arbor Day Foundation in 2014 and oversees the development of the Community Canopy program. Kristen holds a bachelor's degree in journalism from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and has more than 20 years of experience in business development and marketing, including project leadership. She has a strong belief and passion for the work being done through the Arbor Day Foundation and the important role that trees play in solving global issues. So now, Kristen, please begin.
Thank you, Dick, and thanks for joining the call today. Can everybody see my slides?
No, they can't.
I didn't get a show my screen message. My apologies, everyone.
We're working on it, Kristen. Just be a moment here.
Guys, I'm going to jump out of the go-to and come back in just to see if that helps.
That might help. Yes, go ahead.
All right.
All right. So, Travis, if you want to go ahead, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you, Dick. So
Yep.
I'm going to fast forward, pretend you've heard all about the program, but I think that through my little talk here, you'll kind of get some of the details, and hopefully Kristen can rejoin us and kind of give us a little bit more. So a little bit about Redding. We're 91,800 people, about 61 square miles. This is the seat of Shasta County, which is far northern California. So we like to consider Northern California like way up at the top. So not Bay Area. We're actually really hot, dry up here, but we have a lot of great natural resources. Like I said, super hot. We had 72 days over 100 degrees in 2017, so that poses some unique planting challenges. But we do have a lot of great native species, as you can see in that photo, that we actually do have a lot growing here. We have a lot of trees in town. But as far as, homes go, it's hard to build a house around a big oak tree, things like that. So we do get some challenges from there. We have a lot of varied soil types, and we actually own our own power utility company, which you'll see in the next slide here, and we'll go over the details of how our program is funded, but that's actually how we were able to put on our tree program. So kind of the background on how we got to fund this program was basically by having our electric utility, REU. They have a cap and trade program in California that Assembly Bill 32 mandates that we basically return emission levels of greenhouse gases to 1990 levels by 2020. So they use this cap and trade emissions reduction program we get a certain number of allowances that we're allowed to sell on a market for other groups to buy, basically to offset their carbon footprint. So to the point about 2017, March 2017, we had $15 million in cap and trade funds that we could use. And what we have to do with these is, if it's a free allowance, it has to be used for the utilities ratepayers as a public benefit. So we have to do programs or create things that help out our ratepayers. So last year, we went to our city council, funded about 5 programs. We have a low-income energy efficient improvement. So a lot of that's like lighting and things like that. We also did non-motorized transportation, which is trail projects, bike lanes, things like that are designed to, have a long-term benefit of reducing emissions. Transportation electrification. So we did a lot of solar or a lot of electric vehicle charging stations, LED streetlight upgrades, and our shade tree program. So we have about $500,000 for a 4-year shade tree program. And we partnered with Arbor Day to do that. And essentially, we allow homeowners to get up to 4 trees for their yard, one time. And that's designed to shade or cool their home to reduce their energy bill, which actually reduces, our greenhouse gas emissions. So, like I said, that's a 4-year program. The Community Services Department, which is essentially Parks and Recreation, Building Maintenance, we run that program for Reading Electric Utility. We're kind of the friendly face in our community. So we're out there and we have the means to do that and market this sort of thing. So for our 2017 program, we essentially had a big meeting, got together, talked to, we have a couple arborists on staff. We have some nurseries that we work with, and we have some other land managers that we like to talk to and consult when it comes to planting stuff. So we picked about 7 trees that we knew would do really well in Reading, that we'd had success with in the past, that, had been kind of geared toward providing shade or not making a mess and things like that. So we actually paid attention to some of the cultivars too, like our Chinese pistache that we selected. We use the Keith Davy variety, which is it's a bred to be male only. I believe it's male only. So that's actually non-invasive, because some of those can be invasive. So we really paid attention to exactly what we were going to put in the ground and spread throughout the whole city. So our first year, we did 900 trees total. Those are 15-gallon trees. And we just essentially just bought everything from wholesale nurseries. So now our model was that we were doing a self-supply and delivery. So that means we're buying all of our own trees and we're doing all of our own deliveries. So our reasoning behind that is we want to get our park staff out. We want to get, connect with our ratepayers essentially, so that we can have kind of a better relationship there. And it's just something that instead of shipping them a sapling, we thought that would be kind of more our speed. So I like to think that in Reading, we never do things like the small way or the easy way. So we have this giant bridge that we could have built any bridge to get from one side of the river to the other, but we built the Sundial Bridge because the community likes those big things, and it's majestic and beautiful. So I think that this tree program is kind of a good indicator of how we do things around here. So we kind of went the extra mile, I guess you could say. So like I said, we used essentially just the software from Arbor Day. We set up our own forwarding webpage called readingtrees.org, essentially just for marketability, for simplicity, and so that we can put it on a flyer without a ton of slashes and things like that. So we wanted to keep it pretty simple for people. What we had to do once we got reservations was we had to go through and I actually had interns on staff that would look at every single order, identify any potential issues, help those people correct those orders, and then, work on logistics and things like that for delivery. As far as volunteer planting, something we really didn't get into, we had a local nonprofit that did a little bit of it for us, but we didn't really put that out there as an option because it's a lot to manage, and then you're running into things like underground utilities and scheduling. So that's a little cumbersome, and I'd say that's definitely optional. Depends on the size of your program. But 900 trees would have kind of been out of our scope there. So one thing I would say that is a big key for success in a shade tree program, even though everyone loves a free tree, is you have to get the word out. So marketing for us was critical. We have this little logo that we used. It's pretty generic, but it kind of brands the whole thing. Like I said, we set up reddingtrees.org, and that redirects to the Arbor Day Foundation website. But it's just a little more simple thing. We put stickers with that logo on all of our flyers. We put it on all of our tree containers. We put it on, we hand them out at little events and things like that. The kids love them. So we actually used a blend of Arbor Day materials and in-house generated materials to market our whole program. Because, and if you could see this article here on the bottom of the screen, that article moved 600 trees in one day, where we had been struggling. We could put out a press release, you can do events, there's word of mouth, there's flyers, but really until, we reached a huge audience that we had a big article that said free trees, here's how you do it. That really set us up for success. So that's kind of the model that we've been following now, is utilizing local media. Like I mentioned, we did do events. So we have a whole Earth and Watershed Festival. About 5,000 people show up. We give away a handful of trees on site. We put out some Arbor Day Foundation materials. We have arborists on site in our booth to talk about trees and tree care and things like that. And then we actually have iPads and sign people up through this program manually. We move about 100 trees there, but we give out a lot of flyers and that sort of thing. So we see a pretty good increase for a few days after that event, and then it tapers off. Then we have to really revamp marketing. So that's something I'd say to pay attention to. And then in our program, we made these little kind of flyers that just show what are the trees that we have, what are they going to look like, what are their benefits. So we really wanted to, like I said, keep branding these sort of things and keep pushing it, making it, look appealing. We're really trying to sell the program, even though it's free, but it's actually, if your program's going slow, it kind of becomes a burden. So the more you can hit on marketing, the better you can get the word out, the more successful that you can be actually distributing trees to homeowners. So the results of our first year program. So you go through all these reservations basically, and there's some that are going to have errors, and there's some little, quirks with the software that it doesn't do anything wrong, but you see a guy's house, or maybe you don't see their house because the subdivision's new and they're looking for new trees. So you have to sort of weigh out some of these orders on, if your parameters are just to distribute 1,000 trees and that's your thing, then your rules are obviously a lot looser. But for us, because we're funded by that public benefit money and it has to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, we have to have quality data. So you'll see in the next few slides that there's some orders that we can't let through. So we had to scrutinize those a lot more with our interns. And our first round of this program had a lot more errors than we're seeing now. But we'll go over a few of those in the next slide. So like I said, we did a self-delivery model. So we had a route planning software. We essentially loaded all of our 850 trees into the software, and it told us exactly where to go. We took our inventories and essentially filled the truck up backwards. So the last tree on the truck was the last one that we grabbed. It took about 2 days to do all that, and we had our park staff out there, handed out some good tree care material, gave them some planting advice, that sort of thing. So it was a great way to connect with the people, essentially helped them, make sure they're going to follow their planting plan, things like that. So we've got a lot of good feedback. People have loved the program so far. Essentially, once you send your trees out, it's kind of, you're not really sure what happens with them. You hope that they follow the plan. But one thing that we're going to do, and we'll talk about this at the end, is that we want to actually survey some of this stuff and see how it's going. So right now, everything that we've heard, that people have loved it. And by choosing those big 15-gallon trees, we've seen a lot more success. We target our planting season. Like I said, we did, this is a fall program. So we do our reservations in the spring, deliver in the fall. It's too hot to plant anything in the summer here. So I would say definitely a key point is to pay attention to that. And lastly, so our first year cost all in, trees, software, and we actually set up a propagation program that we'll talk about, and our whole delivery model. So it was $100,000. And like I said, we could have got by with a much more constrained program. If you do the lowest level program with Arbor Day, I think it's somewhere around $40 a tree. We could have done that, but we decided to do this big program, and I think that we're happy that we have. But and that's sort of the model that we're going to keep going with. So a couple of those challenges and issues that I talked about. So in our program, you'll see this is what you'll see as an order. So for us, we would not fund that tree. That tree actually will have some benefit, but as far as energy saving, it's not going to save that homeowner money. It might save the homeowner just below him a little money because it shades his property, but we need to shade that structure in order to get that greenhouse gas benefit. So this order, we would actually contact them, work it out to adjust their order, and then work with Arbor Day to have them and their staff. So Luke Miller's super helpful. We'll talk about him a little later, but he will go through and make this work for us. So we'll set up kind of a second round for these guys to fix their issues and make sure that we're getting the right data and the right planting. Another issue that we see a lot is these people are instructed to outline the roof of their house, but you get some of these and you can kind of see a house in there, but the trees are just kind of out there, and I don't feel comfortable turning that over as solid data. So I would work with this person to adjust their order as well. And I'd say that's where interns come in really handy for this sort of thing, that they can spend the time to work on this and help out. So these people are always thankful for it. A lot of times they didn't understand or they tried to do it on their phone. So most of the time it works out to where we can get those adjusted. So our next kind of program that we did was a spring program. We actually did reservations in the late fall or winter of 2017 for spring planting season. So what we did here is we took 300 trees and we targeted low income and senior populations by using our housing divisions. They have a mailer that goes out for anyone that's signed up for a program or meets certain criteria. So that goes out to about 5,000 people. We put an offer code on that flyer to where they go to our Arbor Day website and they have to punch in the offer code. So we know that we've targeted that population. And we just did a straight up delivery to all these houses, and we actually had very little errors. So I'd say that was probably our most successful campaign. Kind of short and sweet, went really quick because we got the word out in a very specific way. So one way that could be tackled essentially is if you know that you have some subdivision where people could use this stuff, you can actually get a mailing list or address list for that area and blanket the area. Or what we did for some of these people is we actually just sent out a couple interns and did a door-to-door. So that really helped too. What we're working on right now is our fall 2018 campaign. So we started reservations at our Whole Earth and Watershed Festival. We're going to do 1,000 trees, same species we've been using. For those 1,000 trees, at a 15-gallon tree, it's about $50,000. So we still have software to pay for after that, but obviously a 15-gallon tree is a lot more money than a little sapling or whatever you may choose. You can do a gallon tree or really, really small ones, but we like these 15-gallon trees. As I mentioned before, they seem to do really well, and some of them are 12 feet tall. They're really large and they really wow people when they see them. So we're going to do a self-delivery model, same thing that we've been doing, except we're going to have a pickup day at our corporation yard. So we're going to just set up, one Saturday where people can come pick up their trees, whatever's left, we're going to deliver the next weekend. And then this is actually our last year of wholesale tree purchase. So as I mentioned before, we always kind of go the extra mile in Redding when we can. So when we first set up this program and we met with our nursery and our arborist, we actually put saplings in the ground at that point so that for 2019 and 2020, we're going to distribute trees that were grown locally by a nursery in town here that we've contracted with. So the benefit of that is that our trees are acclimated to living on the surface of the sun in Redding during the summer, and that our costs are actually half of buying from a wholesale nursery, and we're keeping our money in the local economy, which is something that we always love to do too. So as far as using the program in general, we've had just such a great experience. There's no other real service that kind of offers, essentially using the iTree software, and that's great. But you have to turn this over to the public so that they can put in their information and generate the data for you. So as far as the ease of doing that, I don't think there's anyone else out there doing that sort of thing. And I think it would be really cumbersome to have people use iTree and turn in the data. So it's with the approve and deny function you can see on the right and the actual reports that it generates, the portal is super helpful. And that is the key way that we have been able to fund this program, is using that data. And we actually have to report on it. So we can run reports out of this portal and turn it over to our electric utility, who puts it into their report for their public benefit money. So that's been super helpful. The approve deny function, I'm told, is an option. We use that because of our strict parameters of our program. It's actually really easy because in Redding, some of the ways that you can set up your program boundaries are different. You can have an approved list of addresses or something like that, or zip codes. But in Redding, the zip codes kind of bleed into the county, and we don't really have control over that. So what we essentially have to do is take each site and know where the city limits are and say yes or no. It doesn't take that long because there's a map that shows you where all of the trees are, and that was actually in a previous slide. Shows you where all the trees are, and we generally know about where city limits is, so we can say yes or no to those. One little side note to that: if you are deleting trees or denying orders, make sure that you are telling Arbor Day that you want to add those trees back into the inventory, because as I mentioned before, when we did that article and we had 600 trees going one day, I actually sat home at night because the orders were going so fast that I didn't want the county orders to mess up the city orders, so I was deleting them. And then when I got to work the next day, I realized that the inventory hadn't been repopulated. So I'd say a key if you're using Arbor Day is to really communicate with them while your program, if your program's slow, it's probably not a big deal, but if it's really blowing up, I would definitely communicate with them regularly. And that's where Luke Miller comes in, super responsive. Shoot him an email. Actually, when I was doing an event and we had some issues with our iPads, I was actually able to text him. So I was really thankful to work with him on that. Like I said, work out your orders with the staff. Use a tree map to screen your orders. That's been really helpful. And as far as our future plans, like I said, we're doing our propagation program, which has been pretty easy because the nursery is geared up to do that sort of thing. And we planned it, in 2017. So we were able to get ahead of ourselves on that and kind of set up for success. We want to do a survey monkey to talk to everyone and see kind of how they like the program, how their trees are doing, things like that. And we actually might do a visual survey, which is optional, but it's kind of nice to know. So there's always a tree mortality rate. And once we send these trees out without any kind of supervision, we don't really know what that mortality rate is going to be. So it'd be kind of nice to do a little random sample. And then lastly, we want to have our website upgraded to have a lot more planting care instructions and a lot more tree resources. Right now, it just forwards straight to Arbor Day, and we have a little bit on our parks website about general tree care and landscaping, but we'd like to kind of be a hub for that in Redding, not necessarily to recreate the wheel. We'll just, link out to other websites and things like that, but it's kind of nice because we do get a lot of tree questions, and we do have arborists and we take care of all of our street trees. So it's nice to be able to point people to something as a resource. And so lastly, we've kind of pulled all this stuff in, and I was going through some of our data this morning and looking at, so for our various programs, a lot of greenhouse gas programs run on how many tons of carbon you've sequestered. And I just looked at our 2018 program for what we have reserved, those 1,000 trees. It's actually 1,271 tons, which is pretty impressive. And then for our 900 trees, it was 1,039 tons. So that's the kind of data that we're putting out there. And we actually want to do a little success report and show some graphics. But I think that overall the public has been thrilled with the ease of the program, and everyone loves a free tree. So I don't think that we've had any kind of negative feedback. Generally what you'll see is people that kind of disagree with why this tree or why that tree, or if you're using ginkgos, you need to use the male or the female. One of them smells really bad, so you have to pay attention to those sorts of things. But overall, it's been a great way to kind of give back to the public, connect with them, and help the environment. So there hasn't really been a downside for us, and it's actually got a lot of attention locally, and obviously now that we're doing this webinar for having a successful program. So that's about all I have. So I guess we'll circle back to questions if Kristen gets her thing working here.
Kristen, are you ready to go?
I think so.
Okay. Once again, Kristen Bosquet. Go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you. And thank you, Travis, for a great presentation, for being a really valued partner, and for, congrats on all the success with your program there in Redding. We're really looking forward to seeing the continued progress you're making towards not only your canopy growth, but your carbon sequestration goals. So I'm going to circle back a little bit and just kind of go back to really why trees. I mean, we really see the evidence every day of the stressors our communities are facing. There's a lot of issues happening in the news and in the media, issues such as extreme heat, air quality, water resources, catastrophic storms, energy consumption, personal health, and well-being. And these are all critical issues that continue to accelerate, that our communities are continuing to watch, and trees are a solution and are needed now for a lot of these things. Many cities and communities are currently in the process of really determining their urban tree canopy percentage and are then setting a goal for canopy growth that they would like to reach in the coming years. And private property tree growth is an important piece of this in reaching those canopy goals, and also residential energy efficiency plays a really critical role in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and Travis talked a little bit about that. So private property tree growth can often be a little bit more difficult than planting on public grounds, on public land, on public spaces. The Community Canopy program is here to help with this and may also fit with your climate action plans, environmental action plans, and your community resilience or environmental objectives. Trees can provide beauty to our homes and our neighborhoods, and can also provide a really great solution to the many challenges in the communities. With these private property trees, we're able to reduce temperatures, we're able to clean the air, filter stormwater, sequester carbon emissions, and really conserve energy. So how does the Community Canopy program fit into this? Travis talked a little bit about how he has implemented the program to fit with their project. But really, Community Canopy provides an innovative turnkey way for our partners to offer trees to homeowners for planting on private property. The program is designed to engage and educate homeowners on the benefits of trees and planting them strategically in their yards. So for you as the partner, the program software provides just really an automated turnkey mechanism and strategy to maximize your time and efficiencies with these tree giveaways. Through Community Canopy, the interactive web experience is going to be solely focused on just getting trees reserved while educating the homeowner on how to maximize the benefits of the trees through their planting location. Throughout the homeowner experience, we're going to start by making sure everyone understands how strategic placement of the tree can increase the tree's impact. So our software is going to do this by showing a couple of things, showing how a tree can shade your home, or showing how a tree can block winter winds, And this is going to show them how they can save money and just lower their electric use. So the homeowner can easily relate to the money that they're saving due to reduced energy usage, and that money savings alone may be a motivator for the homeowner to plant the tree in a strategic location. Also in the homeowner process, we're reminding the homeowner to be cognizant of utility lines when planting these trees. There needs to really be a focus on this. The focus on right tree, right place is really important. We want the tree to be able to grow and thrive and not have to be trimmed or removed later due to any sort of interference with the safety and reliability of the electric grid. So that is a focus in the software in multiple locations. Our goal is to get people to plant trees strategically around their home, which can lead up to 20% or more savings for them. So depending on several things, several variables, the tree size, the site of the home they're planting the tree, the distance from the home they're planting the tree, the energy benefit can vary based on all of those things. The value of all the tree benefits, the air, the water, the carbon, and the energy benefit can be measured for every tree, but that energy benefit is that one benefit that is variable depending on the location the tree is planted. So the education in the homeowner process surrounds really how to maximize this specific benefit. So altogether, by being strategic about where the tree is planted can lead to an increased value of each individual tree that you're planting within your community and of your total urban canopy. So as the homeowner is planting to maximize their energy benefit, these strategic private property trees can now be valued at triple the return on investment. So when really you look at the money invested in the tree, you're taking all of the expenses in the tree expense, the care of the tree, and you're looking at that versus the value of the tree benefits, which Travis talked about in how those are all kind of projected in that process. The air, the water, the carbon, and the energy benefits. And what we see is that the return of a tree, the return on investment of the tree, goes from $3 when you're just kind of planting the tree anywhere versus $8 and sometimes more per dollar invested. So I've seen this return on investment jump as high as $21 per dollar invested in the tree just by planting those trees strategically and providing really great shade trees. So here we are moving into our 8th year of the program. You can see here is a look at more than 65 partners who have funded trees in their communities. A lot of these partners are coming back year after year, season after season for giving away more trees, but these partners have been cities, counties, states, utility companies, other businesses and corporate partners, and nonprofit organizations. And each and every one of them has implemented their program just a little bit differently, from funding source to number of trees to tree species that they're offering, and the distribution model that they're choosing, along with just the audience that they're offering it to and the timeline that they have set up. So some are doing one project per year, some are offering trees in both spring and fall season, so there's lots of flexibility there. And here's a look at the projected impact that these partners will have help to accomplish, including the energy, the air, the water, the carbon benefits that you see here. This is just really an excellent example of the metrics being tracked in the program and the benefits being talked about with each and every tree and for each and every project. The spring season that we just wrapped up in June, after 7 years of partnership, the 250,000 tree was planted. So we're excited about that. The same type of infographic here that you see can be created for each of your individual programs to demonstrate your program's return on the environment. So Travis mentioned it, but just to talk a little bit about the technology, the data behind the scenes is iTree. This is a familiar, widely used technology in the forestry industry, and is also a collaboration with the U.S. Forest Service. It's a credible, peer-reviewed scientific research that provides all the metrics within our program to both the homeowner and to you as the partner. So very, very credible. But it's this software that provides just really great value to our partners. The software offers really a way to plan a tree giveaway with minimal staff needed. Through the automated implementation, you'll also have a way to track trees, track participants, educate the homeowners, engage with your community, and show the impact of your program through the projection of benefits as the trees grow over the next 20 years. So the program offers a really ready-to-go approach for tree replacement. Also, in cases such as like storms or maybe emerald ash borer, if you're looking, for ways to recover from some of these things where large mature trees are maybe lost, leading to a potential significant increase in residential energy consumption and a loss in a lot of those benefits. So, in addition, the program is also very flexible. Travis talked about how, they've really kind of customized it to fit what they're doing in Reading, but it can be custom designed to fit with your plan in your community. You see here some of the decisions that you'll be making as you start to plan for your individual program. Decisions such as the brand name that you use for your program. There's community canopy versus energy saving trees, which is what they use in Reading. But also just the funding amount determines the tree quantities. The size of the trees and the species offerings are all flexible. Your preferred distribution model and, the different season that you're offering trees, the timeline, the audience specification, and just any collaborators in your community that you might be interested in working with for your program. So lots of decisions and flexibility there. So Travis talked a little bit about his program. I'm going to go ahead and show really how it works and just kind of give a quick overview of that. So the process to get started is very turnkey. You complete an onboarding web form. You're working with our team very regularly on kind of just your program timeline and all the decisions that I mentioned that need to be made. But one of those decisions is going to be your distribution model, how that works. Travis is using the delivery model, which is they are delivering the trees to the homeowner, taking them to the homeowner. But the other two distribution models that we offer through the program are more of like a direct mail model, which you see on the left here, where trees, 1 gallon size trees are utilized and boxed up and sent and land on the homeowner's doorstep. And they includes planting instructions and all of those things. So just a very turnkey model, which is sometimes beneficial for, larger geographies. Again, if you're looking for something very turnkey, that's a really great model to go with. Another really great model is our local pickup event model, which is going to be more like a 3 or 5 gallon size tree like you see here. But that is a model that about half of our partners use. And this works really well if you're wanting to have some interaction with your community, have those folks come out after they've reserved their tree online and pick up their tree from you. You have the really great opportunity to offer a little bit larger trees in this case. So also a really great model to use. I'll say, Travis talked a little bit about pricing. That direct delivery model is going to be more towards like that $40 to $45 price range. And then, the 3 or 5 gallon size trees for pickup events where we, kind of freight all of those trees bulk to you. That's going to be more like a $50 to $55 price range, just to kind of give you an idea of that. So Travis is using the right-hand side here that you see, the software-only package, where he actually is sourcing those trees and providing the trees for the program. And then through us, he's purchasing the software-only side of things, where it's the licensing and customization of the software he talked about, the dashboard reporting and the data storage, the order tracking, the marketing samples, the call center support, all of those things. But then if you're looking for more of an all-inclusive package where, Arbor Day can kind of help from beginning to end, we have the one on the left here, which isn't going to include everything that Travis is doing with the software only, but then it would also include us using kind of our approved network of growers to purchase the trees for you and to get the trees either direct shipped to your homeowners in your community after they reserve their tree, or to bulk ship those to you for your pickup event model, if that's what you choose. So the innovative software is it's interactive, it's educational, it's turnkey. I thought I would jump in here and just show a quick demo to give an idea of what this looks like when the homeowner gets in there. Travis had a screenshot of kind of that welcome page, but this is what that looks like. You'd be able to customize your message. We're asking the homeowner when they get here to provide us with their address. And at this point, then it is going to, as they click start, bring up a satellite view of their neighborhood and of their home. They're going to see their home here in the center, and they're being instructed on the left to size the box on the map to create the shape of their house. So they're kind of creating their home here structure so that the software can begin to estimate the benefits from the tree that they plot on their yard compared to where their house structure sits. So they draw their house. And now they're going to see a list of those trees that we've sourced for your program or that you've chosen to be offered through your program. These are going to be trees that are now purchased and are ready to go. And then they can choose from any of these trees and kind of just choose what tree they're hoping to plant in their yard. And then at this point, the circle here is instructing them to drag the circle to the desired area near their house that they want to plant the tree. So once they begin to do this, they see a couple of best location arrows pop up on top of their house over here in the green. And so it's indicating for them where to best plant that tree to maximize the tree benefits, including the energy savings. Once they drop it, they see on the left-hand side here just kind of a summary of their tree. They can see the energy savings, the stormwater runoff capture, carbon sequestration, air pollution, more information about the specific tree they've chosen. They have the ability to move this around on their property and get a gauge or a view of, what it does to the, savings and the impact that the tree's having on the environment by moving it around in different locations. So once they get that tree plotted, if you're offering pickup events, here's where they would choose which event they want to attend. We then ask them for all of their information, their email address, their phone number, just really great information that we gather here too, not only to continue communication about this tree that we're going to be providing them, but also it gives us a way to survey them at the end and get some more feedback from them. So they see that right tree, right place reminder that I mentioned, and then the final thing here is going to be the order confirmation. So that's kind of the end of their process. Then at that point, they're going to see or receive an email confirmation from us to the email address they provided. This is going to give them, the summary of where they agreed to plant that tree, and probably provide more instructions on, if it's going to come in the mail or if they, chose a specific pickup event to pick up that tree. You'll also have access to a really great partner dashboard that provides a view of what's happening with your tree, how many trees are remaining of your allotment, the energy and community benefits for those trees that have been reserved thus far. You'll also have, an orders list that I think you saw in some of Travis' slides. You can utilize that approve or deny function, or we can turn that functionality off if it's not needed. You'll have a trees map, and also some really great metrics, some reporting on year 20 benefits by tree, as well as this kind of benefits by tree spreadsheet that will give you your return on investment. It'll give you what at 20 years those benefits total, and you can really calculate what your return on investment is based on how much you spent on the program. So in the end, the Community Canopy program is going to give you a way to gather your community partners. Let's bring potential collaborators into this conversation to explore a joint coalition of tree stewards who will work together to bring more trees to your community, because growing that private property canopy is again very important. This can be done through the utility company in your area, tree nonprofits, and other just corporate companies, corporate organizations that have a community focus, environmental focus, a health focus. So it also provides a way to engage with your community and demonstrate how trees can improve our environments while beautifying our neighborhoods. And then your project will be something the community can talk positively about. You can see here some partnerships that have gone viral, leading to some really great social media interactions about the free trees. So just a really great opportunity to have great things being said about the trees that you're offering. And also many of our programs find themselves with some positive media attention through newspaper, TV, radio coverage, a lot of interviews that are happening at some of these events where they're talking to the partner as well as the Arbor Day Foundation if we're there, and the homeowners that are coming out to pick up their trees. So in the end, the program has been a really great win for everybody involved and shows how trees can really pay us back. The homeowner is getting free trees and beautifying their home and saving money on their energy bills. The program is an excellent way for partners to work together with their community for positive results and environmental impact. And then the obvious value to both the community and the partner of impactful environmental benefits. So if you aren't partnering with the Community Canopy program, but see the program as a possible fit in your community, something that can help, ease what you're planning there, definitely talk to us or, talk to other partners that we're working with. So Thanks for joining Travis and me. Sorry for the technical issues that we had in the beginning, but thanks for joining us to hear a little bit about how to go about hosting a private property tree planting program. I know that sometimes, that idea can be a little daunting, and we hope this has helped as you think about planning something in your area. But I think we're happy to answer any questions that anyone has for us.
Kristen and Travis, thanks for an outstanding presentation. We do have a lot of questions coming in, so let's get right to them. First question, any problems with Japanese beetles damaging the lindens?
I don't think we've had a lot of beetle problems in Reading. So not that I've heard of. We've been pretty good on that stuff so far. So.
Okay. Do homeowners receive some education or training as how to best take care of the specific trees that they are provided?
We do in Reading. We give them some planting care instructions when we drop off their trees. We also give them kind of a list of websites and things like that for the specific trees. But we encourage them just to get onto the internet and start poking around and learning for themselves too. So. But what we do, we buy some, Arbor Day has some pamphlets that they sell on their store. So we actually buy those as well and hand those out. And then our nursery actually put together like a 40-page booklet that we hand out to kind of just give them some more general care information. But we try to set them up for success a little bit too by making sure they're not going to plant them in the summer. So.
Okay, next question. Why do you use exotic tree species rather than native?
In Reading, so our natives are slow growing. If we were to use oaks in 20 years, those oaks would have barely grown. I mean, we use natives in restoration projects that we do all over the city. But as far as targeting specific, for our energy saving benefit, for providing shade, we just went with things that we would use as street trees, basically. So that our model's just been use the trees that fit the bill the best, sort of thing. So we want to, if we're going to use a Western redbud instead of the Eastern redbud, it's much more shrubby and very slow growing. Eastern redbud's a little more tree-like. Same thing with Chitalpas. They're quick growing. We want to get those benefits quickly. And we just don't see that with the natives around here. We've done a bunch of restoration projects, but we did a big one with a lot of native oaks and things like that. And, after 10, 15 years, it's not really, providing tons of shade yet. So that stuff just takes a while. And, I think that it's been kind of the right call, but there's always room for different trees in different cities and things like that. So.
All right, next question, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know this. Do you help people plant their trees if for some reason or another they can't? They're elderly, disabled, or some such thing as that?
So we did, we had 3 people ask for planting assistance, and we partnered with a nonprofit to do that. City staff didn't go do that. That's something you have to weigh out, if you're a government organization, if you want to go onto people's property and plant trees, that's something you have to think about. But we had a nonprofit do it that volunteered to just anyone who had approached us, that wanted that. So we only had 3 people take us up on that. But, I don't think that we could handle doing our programs at that level. If we did 1,000 trees, I don't think we could do that. But, then you also just have to remember there's underground utilities, you're encroaching on their property, things like that. So kind of have to weigh it out on how you want to do that.
Okay, next question. Was there an emphasis in trying to get people to order 4 different tree species if they do choose to get the max of 4 trees?
For us, no. We just let them order whatever, and the inventories just kind of went, wherever they were going to go. It depends. Like it's really just up to them. It didn't really have anything some people got one of each, some people got four of one kind. It's kind of fine for them to do whatever they want, really. That's something that can be controlled, though. We just didn't really have any real reason to do it that we could think of. So.
Okay, you may have answered this question, Travis, but I'll ask it. What are the best trees for the most shade that reduce climate change and global warming?
Well, it depends. So it depends on, I guess, what your timeline is. If you want a huge one that's going to sequester a ton of carbon, it's going to be a big, big tree, but it's going to take a long time to get there. If you want quick growth, we chose something like the Catalpa, which grows really quickly and provides shade. Maybe we're going to start seeing benefits in 5 years. So it kind of depends on where you're going with that. If you're just looking for shade, then something kind of shrubby that just covers the house. But as far as specific species, really the best way to figure that out is to go onto the iTree. I guess I should have prefaced this. It depends on your area. Go to the iTree software, and you can actually put in individual trees, and it'll calculate at whatever year you're looking at to see what your stormwater runoff capture is going to be, what your carbon sequestration is going to be, and you can actually just put in whatever species you want and check it that way. For us, really, you can put in a ginkgo, which might sequester a ton of carbon over its lifespan, but it's going to take 100 years to get there. So we have kind of a big mix, and we know that some trees are going to do better than others, and that's about as good as we could do. We didn't specifically target it to what are the most effective carbon sequestration trees, but that's certainly doable through iTree.
All right, next question. Were there any complaints from other private nurseries or landscape companies that the program takes away from their business?
Nope, we haven't heard any of that. So as far as nurseries, I mean, we contracted with a local nursery, and all the trees were bought wholesale, which most of that stuff comes out of Sacramento. So it doesn't really affect anyone up here. We certainly had a lot of people that called and said, hey, can my gardener come pick up our trees and things like that? So I'm assuming that, there was some benefit to those landscapers that actually get to take care of these trees for some of these folks. But we didn't hear any kind of pushback from them. And it's if you're buying the 15-gallon tree wholesale, it's $400 tops. Anytime I buy a tree like that from a local nursery, it's about $100. So really, it's not a ton of money on an individual homeowner basis, and someone still has to take care of the tree. So it hasn't really been a big issue that we've seen.
All right, next question. Can the program be designed to restrict who can access it? For example, limiting it to a specific neighborhood or giving a code to individuals who participate in educational programs?
Well, Kristen can comment more on that, but we actually did that with our housing mailer. We gave them a specific access code. And really, I mean, they probably could have shared it with someone, but we can actually manually verify addresses. So it's not a big deal to double check on that. But we targeted a certain, kind of economic sector, and went that way. But all you do is set up an offer code, and they have to have that offer code to make everything work. So that part was really easy to do, actually.
Okay, Kristen,
yeah,
did you want to add to that?
I can jump in on that. Yeah, I can jump in on that. Eligibility can be checked in multiple different ways. We can use that promotional code or multiple promotional codes if you wanted to use different promotional codes and different marketing that you were using that you were doing to measure the effectiveness of those. We can use account numbers, which we've used sometimes when utility companies have been involved, so that somebody has to, enter their utility account number, or other corporate companies that have, like a customer number or something like that. And then the eligibility can also be checked just by address and zip code, or that the zip code that they're putting in resides within a specific geography shape file that we've been provided by our partners. So there's lots of different eligibility checks that can happen, as well as if you're using that approve or deny function, you can double check things that way too.
Okay, next question. Does a community have to be a certain size to be a part of this program?
No, we don't. We have communities that are very small communities and then larger communities. Our program sizes range anywhere from the smallest program being a 100-tree program to the largest one we've done, which was a 10,000-tree program. So we invite and welcome any community in, big or small.
Okay. In Colorado, there are many solar panels on top of residential roofs. Is the software able to accommodate the best location considering the rooftop, or is there any guidance?
So solar panels aren't recognized, like existing infrastructure is not recognized in the process at this time. So that is the reason for drawing the box around your home, so that basically recognizes where the home structure sits. So at this point in time with the software, we do not recognize solar panels, but I've had that question before from communities who, have a concern about that, and just, there's still an opportunity there to provide smaller growing trees that would fit, with the solar panels in specific, areas around the home, as well as larger trees. Communication about that could be done in communication that we're doing in the marketing or in the welcome message. We're going to be adding video functionality, so a video about, just really what to think about and how to go about, choosing and planting your tree. If you have solar panels, could be even a kind of a how-to video that would be included in the process.
And that's what I'd say, definitely on your marketing and your outreach, that you'd want to touch on that if it's become an issue, especially your neighbor has panels, things like that. So there's a courtesy aspect to that as well. But that's something that you can really push on your marketing. And if you're doing, outreach, that you can kind of create the message and rules that you want to do. But we haven't certainly had that come up. We've had people ask about individual trees and things like that, but we haven't had it come up too often. So just really on a question like how can I plant around these, or what's the best spot if I have solar panels, and there's some online guidance for that as well.
Well, it looks like we've run out of time, so if we didn't have a chance to get to your particular question, please let us know in the brief survey that will pop up following the webcast. Kristen and Travis, once again, I'd like to thank you for an excellent presentation, and thanks again to the Arbor Day Foundation for making this webinar possible.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, that'll do it. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.